I know as a stay-at-home mom, you have spent a lot of time paying attention to your children, and I applaud you for it. But you have still got to pay attention to yourself. And you have to spend some time remembering who you are, like the fullness of who you are. And that keeps you from the cycle of buying all these frameworks, trying to implement all these things, and then finding out that doesn't suit me, and then feeling like a failure, and then being confused about what to do next, and on and on and on. If you are a stay-at-home mom who has been trying your hand at starting a business for a few years now, and it hasn't worked, and you are almost at your wit's end about to quit, you must really need this video, because this is my third time. This is my third take recording it, but I couldn't let it go because there is a woman that I came across in the comments, a stay-at-home mom who the story just really got to me. She was just talking about how she had been at this thing for 5 years, and she had tried to learn all she could about starting this particular business, and she'd spent money on courses and on mentoring, and it just wasn't working, and she's needing this money, to take care of her family. And she was confused about next steps, and she just needed help. And when I saw it, I realized that there are probably 3 things that she didn't consider before getting started on that particular venture. And really, it doesn't matter what business you're trying to start. If you're a stay-at-home mom and you've been struggling at this thing, starting a business, and you feel like you're going to quit, we should talk. Welcome, I'm Vanessa Harris, and let's get right into it. Look, the first thing that you gotta take into consideration if you're in a similar position, whether it's because you really just need the extra money to take care of your family in this day and time, or you just realize that, yes, I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I am a woman first, and there are other things that I am good at, other talents and skills that come natural to me, and I feel like I'm at a point in my life where I can handle taking care of my children in the way that I would like, and meeting the needs of customers and or clients. And so if that's you, then the first thing you need to consider is that you need to build your capacity. And by that, I mean, up until this point, your focus has been primarily being the mom to your children and all that that entails, right? So you are caring about what they're eating, how they're growing, if their development is on schedule. Are they being exposed and having enough experiences that make them well-rounded people? You want to be the one who is the primary influence in their lives. That's why you're at home raising them yourself. And since that has been your focus, I know, because by the way, I have been a stay-at-home mom for over 20 years. I did that coming off of a career in medicine. And now I'm circling back into business again in a different capacity. So I understand what it's like to be zoned in and focused on raising your little people. And that becomes your world within a world, right? That's your focus. Even if you have girlfriends that you're able to get together with here and there, they're usually probably other moms. And so you're doing double duty. You're hanging out together and chatting as women, but you're still watching each other's kids. Your focus has been your children, and now you have to build your capacity to where you're not just caring about them and how your children are doing. Now you're folding in caring about a group of people that you're trying to serve, your market for your product or your service. You have to care about them and care for them. So in the same way that you have spent however long you've been a stay-at-home mom caring about your children, right? Caring about how they are developing, how they are growing. You are now also, not to the same degree, but you're caring about these people that you want to serve. And you need to have now capacity and make room to think about them, to think about what their needs are. And guess what? They're not as readily accessible to you as your children are. So now you're having to do research, and now you're maybe having to make time to go places where those people are so that you can talk to them. beyond the research that you're doing online, and to hear what their pain points are so that you can put something together that will meet their needs. You have to build capacity for that, because that's not what you've been doing, right? When you start working out and you want to incorporate lifting weights, you don't just get up and start picking up the heaviest weight. You need to build up and you need to prepare, right? They're telling women over 50 you need to be lifting heavy. Well, you don't just start lifting 45 pounds if you've never lifted. You have to build up. You have to prepare to lift heavy, right? Eventually. And so now that you have this idea, you want to build this business, you have to prepare yourself to have the capacity to now take care of your children still, right? Because this is not, I'm not going to be a stay-at-home mom. I'm just going to be a working mom. No, you're going to be a stay-at-home mom who is working and working her own business, right? So it's another level than just going and getting a job and working for somebody else from home. It is you are the one promoting your own vision. That takes a lot of time, a lot of thought, a lot of intention, right? We talk a lot on this channel about intention, usually with regard to your mothering, but now you have to apply intention toward this business and what it will require for you to do it well and for you to experience success. And so, yes, it will mean that you need to make room to do that research, to connect with those people that you want to serve and develop a heart for them, develop a heart for their pain points, their problems, so that whatever solution you're coming up with is really meeting their needs. In the same way that as a stay-at-home mom, you're meeting the needs of your children. Now there's another group of people that you have to consider, and then maintain the priority that your children will still come first. That whole juggle routine, right? We're always juggling as moms, but you are now throwing another ball into the juggling routine, and you have got to think that thing through and plan and prepare. If you're a mama, you know about cleaning up. And if you know, not a fresh sponge, a sponge that has been used, and I mean the old school rectangular sponge. We're not talking about the daddy sponges they have now. I'm talking about the old school regular sponge. If you have had a used one, right, and you've dried it out and it's laying around, but now one of your children has spilled something and you have to clean that up and you don't have anything else around but that sponge, what do you have to do? Can that hard, dry sponge soak up that liquid that has spilled? No, you have to wet the sponge. You have to wet the sponge to pick up liquid, which sounds weird, doesn't sound intuitive, but it's absolutely necessary. That sponge has to be prepared in order to accept this liquid into it, right? You have to prepare yourself to accept and take on another role that really does require significant time and attention, because there's a lot of research involved, right? And so you have to prepare for it. So the first thing you have to do is build your capacity. And I do have notes, that's why I'm looking down. The second thing you're going to have to do, and this is all before you get into the nuts and bolts of starting the business. I'm talking about how you have to prepare. And you're going to have to boost your confidence. Boost your confidence. What do I mean by that? Well, like I said, you have been focused on being somebody's mom. And that's not the fullness of who you are, but because that is what you have focused on, everything else has kind of taken a back seat. It's not really top of mind anymore. You don't really use those skills. So you're not thinking in that way anymore. And so, we talk about use it or lose it. Well, you lose awareness of it. Even if you keep the abilities, you lose the awareness of it, and you don't think of yourself as capable as you are, because the part of yourself that you use is the part that's tending to your children, but there's so much more to you that typically is not part of your day in and day out. I'm a physician, but I haven't practiced in decades, and that was intentional. I retired from medicine to take care of my children. And so There's a lot that I learned in medical school that is not top of mind because I'm not having to use it. What I have used, that I have used to help take care of my own children, yes, I have used that, but there is so much more that I have learned that I don't use. And that's just my role as a physician. There are other things about me, right, that I'm good at, but if I'm not using it all the time, I'm not thinking about it. And so when it's time for you now to step up in a new capacity, there's a moment where you're like, I don't know, can I do that? And you have to spend some time remembering who you are, like the fullness of who you are. Like you have to spend some time building your confidence in the fact that there is more to you than being a mom. Even though being somebody's mom has been your primary focus, you're going to have to invest some time in reminding yourself that yes, I can do this. I've done hard things. I've done things for people other than my children. And even if you haven't, maybe you became a stay-at-home mom young, well, then it's time for you to figure out what are the things about you that you are good at, that you have always been good at, that come easy to you, because those are gems. That's information that should and could inform how you show up in your business, because it's how you show up everywhere, right? When one of my favorite types of patients are babies, and when I would, have babies come into the office for their checkups, you can walk in the room and you can tell right away which baby will come to you easily and which one won't. And yes, pediatricians, if you go into pediatrics, you are typically the kind of person that babies tend to come to easily because they just know that you're their people. But everybody is different, and that's what we're getting to right here, that everyone is different, and they have been different. They have been the way that they are since they are born. And so yes, I can come into a room and I can tell that if I put out my hands to a particular baby, that baby will come to me, right? She will smile and she will wave her arms or whatever it is, and I can pick her up easily. And then there are other babies that I can come into the room and I can see by the way that she's looking at me and holding on to her mother that she is not going to come to me easily. And so what do I have to do? I had to talk to her mom. I had to have conversation with her mom, and that baby had to see that her mom and I were getting along, and her mom is smiling and I'm smiling and we're chit-chatting. And that observation gave her the sense of comfort to say, okay, well, now I'll let her pick me up. But she had to observe that first. And that's not random. That's how that baby is wired. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it, because when you follow those babies into adulthood, I guarantee you that they're the same. The baby who came to me easily is the baby who hugs everyone that they meet. You go to shake their hand and she's like, oh no, bring it in. And she wants a hug, and she's smiling and she's talking and she's chatting you up and doesn't even know you, right? And then the other one who was reserved as a baby is still reserved. She comes into a room, she takes her seat maybe at a conference or there's some sort of meeting, and she's not going around talking to everyone first. She's sitting down, she's getting a feel for the room, whose mood is what, and then who does she want to talk to first, and then she may approach that person, or, when that person speaks to her, she's more readily available to talk to them because she's already decided, okay, I feel like that person's cool. And none of it is right or wrong. It's just how people are wired. But you have to know that, because that information is key to not only what business you want to start, but how you'll operate in that business, right? If you are an author, my first foray into business as a stay-at-home mom was I wrote a book. Well, primarily, I love words, but primarily I love writing. But then what people tell you have to do to promote the book, I wasn't so comfortable with that. All this talking, and talking in front of crowds and talking to strangers regularly and pushing a book forward and trying to tell people what it's about and convincing them that they would read it. Like, that's not how I'm wired. It's never been how I'm wired. I'm not one to go in a room anywhere for any reason and try to get attention or try to get you to notice me, or that's just not me. And so that immediately makes me uncomfortable. So I had to figure out, well, what's the way that works for me? And typically an author will promote their book with more writing, right? Or conversely, a speaker will promote their speaking business by speaking. You'll see them making a lot of videos. But that's what you have to know. You have to know what you are naturally good at, because that's the information that you'll use to help you pick what type of business will feel good to you and will be a flow. Because again, your primary concern is raising your children. The business is secondary. Even if it's necessary, it's secondary. And so you want to have a business that really makes the most of how you naturally flow, so that the business just is another extension of you that you just happen to get paid for. And I know what you're saying. Well, how do I know what these things are that I'm naturally good at, the way that I'm wired, the way that I've been since I've been born and has been consistent across all the areas of my life? Like, I don't notice what that is. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to journal. Whether you write in a book like I like to do, or you take notes on your phone in the notes app, however you like to do it, but the regular practice of paying attention to your life. I know as a stay-at-home mom, you have spent a lot of time paying attention to your children, and I applaud you for it. But you have still got to pay attention to yourself, because you are more than their mother. You are a woman. And as a woman, you have likes, you have dislikes, you have strengths, you have weaknesses, you have natural tendencies, natural capabilities that you need to be aware of, especially now that you want to go into business. You want to know what those capabilities are because you want to maximize them. And the way to do that is to pay attention to what really moves you. And when I say moves you, I mean experiences in a day that really make you happy, that really make you angry, that really confuse you, that really frustrate you, that really make you sad. Pay attention to those things by writing them down. Write down the whole account. Write down what happened, write down how you felt, write down what you're going to do about it, how are you going to change this going forward, or how you're going to set things up so you experience less of that. Whatever it is, write those things down. I want you to do it for 7 days, to write those things down, because as you look back on what you've journaled, you will notice a pattern. You will notice what kind of thing regularly brings you joy, what kind of thing regularly frustrates you. What kind of thing do you think is an injustice that you want to do something about? What is something that you want people to experience more and you feel like you are the one to help them do that? Is that something that you can build a business around? That's what you want to pay attention to, because most of us do not pay attention to our lives. Most of us, period, but moms for sure. We do not pay attention to ourselves because we're so busy caring for and nurturing our little people. And so you want to pay attention to what is firing you up. And then you can start to think about why, because what is firing you up is something, if you pay attention, it's consistent all the time. It's not something new. There have been different expressions of that from the time that you were in elementary school, middle school, high school, working a job, maybe before you came home to take care of your own children. There has been a recurring theme that this is how I tend to show up. And you want to pay attention to that, because that's what you want to use to help you be successful in the business that you choose and operate in. And if journaling even feels like it's too open-ended, like that's not where you want to start because it's like I still don't know what to write. In the description box, I have a link to, I think it's 10 questions. These are not like rocket science questions. These are questions that relate to all of us, like real life experiences. And I included multiple choice because I don't want you to feel like I don't know the answer. So I have provided 4 answers for each of those questions, and you just pick the one that relates to you, that you relate to most for each one. And by the time you get to the end and you look back through them, you will notice a pattern. You will notice how you tend to respond in each of these scenarios. What just felt good to you right off the bat, because our wiring is subconscious. It is not something, unless you are the type of temperament which is very introspective and observant. You're not probably somebody who pays attention to how you respond to things over and over because it's so second nature to you. This brings that out and makes you aware of it so that you can understand, okay, this is my groove. This is how I tend to show up. And it explains why temperaments help you understand why you tend to show up a certain way that others do not. And none of it is right or wrong. It just is how it is because it's how we've been designed by God. And the awareness of that helps us understand our purpose and then understand how we can live out our purpose in the business that we choose. So the first thing you want to do is build your capacity. Okay. And we're doing that by developing the muscle of caring about this group of people that we're wanting to serve in business. But then what business is that going to be? Well, that's why you need to boost your confidence that you are able to care about the needs of other people. And you get confident about that by getting to know yourself, getting to know what it is that you offer, that you do offer more than taking care of your children. There are other abilities and tendencies that you have naturally that are a blessing to people. And get in touch with them, because when you know that, you feel confident that you can do whatever it is that you're going to do in business, because you're going to do this third thing, which is build with you as the core. Let me tell you, before I tell you what I mean by that, let me tell you what happens if you don't build a business that's centered around you. If you don't, you'll build a business, whether it's because it's popular or whether it's because you feel it's the easiest to start, or whatever reason that you come up with that is not centered around what you're discovering in this journaling and the questions that I share with you. If you build it around something other than you, then the tendency, and maybe this is what you have experienced if you have had a struggle getting whatever business you've tried to start off the ground, is you'll build a business that is demanding you to show up in a way that is contrary to who you are. Like, it wants you to become a persona. It wants you to become a character. It wants you to take on a mindset, take on activities that you don't normally do in all the other areas of your life. They don't come natural to you. It feels forced. You have to do a lot of, it takes a lot of time, and you're putting a lot of effort into developing skills to try to become something that you're not in order to implement the business. And you're thinking that that's grind, and you're thinking that's how it's supposed to be, when really you are just fighting yourself. And the effort that you're taking to become is really robbing you of time that you need to spend with your children. Because again, the business, I'm assuming, is secondary to you still wanting to be active and influential as a stay-at-home mom. And so you only still have the same 24 hours, and you're having to get a lot more done now that you're wanting to start this business. You have to work smart. And what you don't want to do is try to build a business that wants you to spend time transforming into somebody that you're not in any other area of your life. And you have to become that person to do the work. And then you're going to go back and try to be who you normally are for the rest of your life. And then you wonder why you feel like an imposter. You feel like an imposter because you are being an imposter. You are pretending. You want a business that allows you to be your authentic self in every way. Whether it's the marketing, whether it's the systems that you put in place, you want it to support who you are, not strip away who you are. So you don't want a business that demands from you that you change. You want a business that's built around how you normally flow so that you're nimble. This is just another way. This is me just showing up and serving customers. But it's the same. I serve my children this way. I serve my husband this way. I serve in friendships this way. I serve my extended family this way. I am just doing this business in the way I do everything else. And the type of business and my role in it supports that so that I'm not drained, because motherhood is already draining. We don't want to add on another activity that's going to drain the life out of us, even in the name of making money. It is possible for you to have an income and it not wreck your quality of life, especially if it's your own business, right? It made sense when you were working for somebody else and you didn't have control, that you are, at their mercy to a degree. And at the end of the day, you're exhausted, but at least I'm done with it, and now I'm home. No, this is a business. And you get to design it. And you get to say, hey, this is how I'm going to set it up, because it's my business and my vision. And I get to set it up in a way that suits me and makes the most of my strengths. So that's what we want. And if we build a business with us as the core, if you build a business with you and who you are as the core, that's what you're setting up. You're setting up the ability to take advantage of how you naturally reason, how you make decisions, how you naturally relate to people. Okay, I mean, there's some businesses that really require that you be interacting with the customer, that you be really front facing. If you're somebody who prefers, studying patterns and looking for and implementing systems, then you don't so much want to be talking to people. That's a lot of solitary work. And so you have to know how you're wired so that you take the role in your business that makes sense for you. And then you can eventually hire other people who can do the roles that just don't work for you. And if you tried to do them, you'd make somebody uncomfortable because they recognize, okay, she doesn't normally act like this. She's not normally a talkative, front-facing, how can I help you person. And it's like, I can see her struggle and it makes me uncomfortable. Like, you don't want that. You want to own your role, right? I always talk about owning your role in the home as a leader in your family. Well, now it's about owning your role here in your company and doing what works best for you, because it's how you work best. So build your capacity, boost your confidence by getting to know yourself and what makes you you and what makes you distinct. Own that and build with you as the core. Then you're ready to build that business, understanding who you are, understanding how you need to be featured in the business, understanding that I have the capacity to do it. I've prepared. I'm confident. I know myself. I know what I'm good at, and I know what business allows that to shine. And then you're ready to get started building that business that is centered around you, rather than you running around getting everybody else's framework, figuring out how everyone else does it and copying them when they are not you. And they are doing it the way they are doing it because it suits them. They tell you about it because they hope that it might suit you too, and then they can share it with you, and yes, you pay for that. But you have to know yourself well enough so that when they tell you about their framework, you can say, oh, well, actually, that wouldn't work for me. And then that keeps you from the cycle of buying all these frameworks, trying to implement all these things, and then finding out that doesn't suit me, and then feeling like a failure, and then being confused about what to do next, and on and on and on. So you can do it. You just have to prepare. And these 3 areas that I talked to you about are the way to prepare so that when you step into your business, you're confident and you feel capable and you have the capacity and you're ready. So I want you to think about this before you go. There is more to you than you think. There always has been. Take the time to discover as much as possible what all that is, so that you continue to be a blessing to yourself, to your family, and to the people that you serve. Okay, take care.